Hello and welcome to the special broadcast on the Mastercard virtual event Collaborate to Innovate, which is taking place on the 23rd and 24th of February. Now, the event brings together various stakeholders shaping the digital business landscape of our region and beyond. The two-day virtual event provides an opportunity to deep dive into digital transformation, business model disruption, and resilient leadership in times of change as the driving forces for the future of business in the Middle East and Africa region and beyond. My name is Zinati Guma. My guest is Raghu Malhotra, the Regional President for the Middle East and Africa region. He's joining us now from Dubai. Welcome and thank you for your time, Raghu. Now, I mentioned that there will be a a virtual event taking place titled Collaborate to Innovate. Now, that's very interesting. I just want you to talk to me, give me an overview of what the event will entail and also who are these stakeholders that will be sharing their ideas for innovation.
Right. First, thank you very much for having me. A real pleasure for you to have me again. Just on the event, it's the theme I feel which is the most important part. And I think this says a lot about how we think of growth in Africa and how will that growth come about. So for us, it's not about just innovating. It's like if you don't collaborate, I think the days of single companies innovating are over. I think the value chain, the way it stacks up today in the continent and outside across the world, requires you to collaborate through. So this event is about actually putting together a series of our partners, people we work with, people who are governments, MNOs, digital partners, fintechs, who are all coming together and actually talking about what the future opportunity set looks like and actually how do you go about ensuring that the best possible technology or solution goes to the consumers to help in the continent.
Now, a lot of us will remember the adverts. Some things in life are priceless, and for everything else, there's Mastercard. I think in general, Mastercard has always been perceived as a credit card company, and the company is coming out with that you are a global technology company. I just want you to walk me through that transformation for Mastercard. Has Mastercard always been a tech company, or have you evolved from a credit card company to a tech company?
So I'll have to say this is much more a perception by consumers because they've related to our brand as a consumer. So hence, when they use debit card, credit cards, they tend to associate Mastercard as that. But if I was to really look at the real essence of the company we're a company that allowed you to securely transact across borders 25 years back or 30 years back seamlessly, right? Electronically, securely. So for us, what a lot of people tell me, actually all of the digitization has happened because of some of the big, large tech players that have come now that have enabled it, which there are no doubts about, right? But that's much more on the social media, etc. I feel they have been catalysts. However, we've been doing this for between 25 to 30 years now of carrying secure transactions in a digital form. For many years. So I'd like to believe that we have always been a digital company. What we have done is we've evolved ourselves over the last 10 years. We understand that it's not just about carrying a secure transaction. We said we need to do it safely, securely, more conveniently across multiple rails, which means we have to actually have better capability sets on what we do for e-commerce, what do we do actually for mobile commerce, what do we do about mobile money? We have expanded our stakeholder map away from FIs to FMCGs, to retailers, to large MNOs, so we've governments as well. And then we've also started to provide infrastructure, which is our technology backbone, to ensure that governments as well as our close partners can provide the best possible tech infrastructure for their end consumers. And I think that's been a bit of an evolution for us over the last 10 years. So on multi-rails effectively.
I just want to ask, what is at the core of Mastercard that makes it such a trusted brand? And also, has COVID-19 changed the landscape in which Mastercard is involved in?
Sure. So I think the reason why we are a trusted brand is that we have a set of value systems within the company where we are very clear about what our boundaries are. One of them is privacy, the way we handle data, right? We actually don't know who sits behind that digital number, that 16-digit ID. And we look at our data only at an aggregated level, never down to an individual where you can actually see people's personal data. I think we have done that. We've shown that over our company is 60 years old. Even though when I was talking about this for 25, 30 years, that's an electronic form. But as a company, we're 60 years old. So we have 60 years of history of actually proving to our consumers that they can trust us, our partners, and our customers, as well as consumers that they can trust us. So I think we have that at the cornerstone of our company in that. Now, as we move forward, you talked about COVID-19. The reality is our world has been evolving over the last decade or so, and we've evolved with that as well. COVID-19 actually puts a new spin to that changing, evolving world in there. So the two or three things that we started to see happen is that 7 out of 10 consumers in Middle East Africa have started to transact on an e-commerce basis, right? Now, of course, some of that is to do with the physicality of the lack of physicality of that. However, in our opinion, at least 30 to 40% will stay. And that will become a further catalyst for more e-commerce growth in there. And our e-commerce growth, when I say e-commerce, you're thinking of it from just a consumer transacting. But actually, I think that means the whole digital infrastructure that we have of today will evolve. It means that consumers will want to have choice across multiple rails, not just on a card rail. They'll want to have it on the bank rail and the mobile money rail, etc. So I see that changing, and us playing a very important and pivotal role as part of being in the middle of that and allowing for a multi-rail convenience in there. And we have those capabilities. And the last one then is, if you're going to do that, you need to do this in a very safe, secure manner, which means how we use data, some of the cybersecurity, and how do we actually protect this whole infrastructure and this environment is going to be another element that will drive change differently. And lastly, I think you will start to see that small and medium enterprises will become much more agile on a digital form factor, and it will manifest itself in many ways, which means you need to enable them differently. You need to empower them differently versus what has happened today, whether it's on microcredit, working capital, or just getting them online. So I feel those are some of the broad trends that we see in Middle East Africa, which are here to stay. And that clearly defines our strategy and how we will actually start to interact with our own stakeholders and our end consumers.
And I mean, the whole point of the acceleration of digital transformation, especially in the Middle East Africa region, is to bridge the digital divide, to try and close it, just to get the digital economy more accessible to people who have previously been disadvantaged. What is Mastercard's role in that?
Yeah. So, we had a stated goal many years back, and we put it out there. I think we're one of the first companies to do so. We said we want to include 500 million people and bring them into the formal economy. So we talked about that as financial inclusion. Last year, we announced saying we want 1 billion people to be formally introduced into the economy, which means we're talking about our goal being 1 billion financially included consumers in there. Within that, we've also put a fairly big goal out there saying we want 50 million small and medium enterprises to be included as part of that digital economy. So it's in two stages. One is something which we said a few years back, which we actually did, by the way. We actually said we'll do it in 5 years. So 500 million, we actually finished in 4 years. And once we did that, we knew that we needed to expand that. So it's 1 billion people. A lot of that work actually does happen in emerging markets, specifically in Africa as well, right? And it's not just about just putting them into what I call the carded world or getting them virtual card numbers, etc. It's actually a series of very innovative products. Like we've introduced the Mastercard's Farmers Network as an example, where you can actually access farmers, or farmers can access different buyers in a digital form. That gets them included into the formal economy. As that happens, the flow becomes much more transparent. They get better credit in there. So that's just one sort of example. So, but the big point is financial inclusion is big in our part of the world. We have ambitious goals around that, and it's not going to be looked at with a single lens to just include them. I think it's a series of ways that we are looking at it, whether it's from a consumer angle, from a microcredit angle, SME angle, an online angle. So it's all of these angles coming together for us on that whole financial inclusion piece, which will also include infrastructure development with governments.
Absolutely incredible work that Mastercard is doing for financial inclusion, especially when it comes to small and medium enterprises. We do know that they have been the most hurt by COVID-19, and they will be the most vulnerable even after COVID-19, as we still see the economic effects. Now, Mastercard has a multi-rail approach. I just want you to talk me through what that means and what is the benefit for consumers.
See, as the world converges, and the word I use is converges, um, people will want a choice on how they want to transact on what rail. If I have a bank account, I want to probably use my bank account sometimes. If I'm actually trying to do something online, I want a virtual card that allows e-commerce. If I'm in the physical world, I actually want to tap my card and do that in a different rail altogether. So it's these different rails that we are talking about that I talk about as multi-rail, and that's the what we talk about in Mastercard is what multi-rail means. Is giving choice to consumers so that they can actually choose, and it should be done in a very seamless manner. Each of these platforms should be able to talk to each other, then you can do that. And that's really what we mean by multi-rail. Multi-rail for us also is about both the physical world as well as the digital world, right? So things like our payment gateway, our mobile payment gateway are also enablers on different platforms uh, that help that change take place.
There's a lot of excitement around the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, where the digital space is perceived to be the center of that. What is Are you excited at all about the AfCFTA, and what role does Mastercard plan on taking when it comes to the cohesion of African economies?
Yeah. So listen, I feel I've said this in the past, so you might get bored hearing this. I've said this in the past to say that what Asia was to global markets 15 years back, Africa will be to global markets now for the next decade or and a bit. Because as different industries look for growth, I think the continent provides opportunity for growth on many, many fronts, right? So one is really about how the infrastructure will change in Africa. So that gives opportunity. So it gives great. Some of the fastest growing economies in the world are in Africa. Then you actually start to see that there is a confluence taking place, that you start to see governments, retailers, MNOs, financial institutions, micro lending institutions, all working towards a similar goal, which is financial inclusion. But actually, they're doing this in a very unique manner in Africa. Right? I feel that inclusive growth is going to be the success for Africa, which is what excites us the most about the continent. It's we say that we want to do well by doing good, and Africa is really about doing exactly that. All companies can do well as long as they do good. So I think it's these two, three things that excite us about the continent: infrastructure, how governments are responding to it, and the confluence of many players trying to do more inclusive things in that. One thing which I do want to talk about is, just give you a stat, is 90% of all employment in Africa comes out of SMEs. And actually, in many parts, it's the SMEs are run by women entrepreneurs. And that's going to be another area of tremendous growth within the continent as well. And that's why a lot of our services are tailored around actually ensuring both that SMEs are supported, they have the right infrastructure, but even more importantly, that they actually empower some of the women entrepreneurs in 4 or 5 countries in Africa.
And talking about women empowerment, we do know that Mastercard is also involved in our Leading Women Summit hosted by Forbes Women Africa. So very excited about that inclusive growth and the role that Mastercard is playing in that, and also just a digital transformation. Thank you so much for your time. That was Raghu Malhotra, the president of the Middle East and Africa for Mastercard. Thank you very much for joining us. From me, Zinati Guma. It's goodbye for now.